Hi everyone. Today I'm working with some papers from the Shabby collection and I'm going to make a mini journal. So I've printed out some of the papers from the scrapbook papers and the journal pages and added a few other bits and pieces, and I'm going to make a mini journal and this is going to be a gift. So if you'd like to join along, there's a discount code on both Etsy and Studio 19 digital site for 35% off until the end of August. So I'll pop that code up on the screen now, and if you're interested in joining in, you're welcome to use that. So what I've printed out are some of the scrapbook papers on 160 GSM. So these are just single-sided, and I'm going to make these the cover. So I've printed a couple of the pink tones, pink floral tones. So those two pieces are going to be the front and back cover. This piece will be the inside cover, and then I've been tea dyeing some 6x6 papers that were just too bright and I wasn't going to use. So I've got a couple of the 6x6 backing pads. So these are the cardboard backs of the paper pads, and I'm going to use those as my covers. And then the papers, these are the journal papers, and what I've done is I've gone into the layout menu and printed 2 pages per sheet, so that's 2 pages there. Normally that would be an A4 size, and so I've printed 2 pages per sheet. So it's just taken 6 sheets of A4 paper to print the 24 journal papers, and so I've printed these double-sided, and these will be folded in half and placed into the journal. So there's 6 of those, and these are all lovely and shabby. And then I've gone through my hand dyed papers and grabbed some papers that will complement. So there's a pink one, it's got a hint of lemony green colour, a tea dyed page. This one's got a bit of a sparkle to it, if the camera will pick that up, but it's got a sparkle. I use that in the unicorn journal. Another pinky one. This is just an old lined notebook that I've torn up. There's some blue in there and a couple of other bits and pieces, just whatever I had basically at my fingertips. So they're the papers, and what I'm going to do with the journal pages, so I'll just grab those 6 out, is I don't want to cut them with the paper trimmer and for them to have a neat edge. So I've just grabbed a pair of the scissors. These are the ones with the deckled edge, and these are just from a set, Paper Edges set that I've got here. And so what I want to do is I want to cut around them, but it'll be forever if I do it piece by piece. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to fold these in half and then cut them as a folded set, and then just go through and cut for each piece. Just go through and cut right on the edge so that there's no white showing, and cut both pieces at once. So I'll just do this set quickly. So there's still a little bit of white showing there, so I'll just go back and take a little bit more off that. I haven't actually used these scissors, I've had the set for ages. So that's going to cut both of them at the same time. So I'm going to go through and do all of them. Here's my stack of papers, and I've cut all of the edges. So these are the journal pages, and I've gone around and inked everything using this product. So you can just see the edges there are all in keeping with the shabby theme, and a few of the plain papers also have that on it. And then this other collection I've gone through, and all I did was basically laid this out and trimmed with a tear ruler to get the same size pieces of paper. And so all of those other scrappy bits you can see I've folded and cut up. And I've gone around all of the edges, and hopefully the camera will pick that all up. Bit of shine on all of them. And I've used this product, Inca Gold, in the rose quartz colour. So it's very much like, well, it's the same product as the gold one that I use. And I love this, I use it all the time. And the only other one I've got is that rose quartz colour. So now all of my pages are ready and nothing is straight edge. It makes it really easy to turn the pages when everything's got that unevenness about it. And so now I just want to make some signatures. I've got 12, yes, of these journal pages. So I'll make 3 signatures. So I'm just going to sort of put things together and try and distribute things must be missing one. So that's 4 of those in each one. And then this has got the tea dye on it. I'll try and do a pink in each. Something a bit unusual in each. It's a white one in each. A pink, a pink, a pink, a blue, a blue. Okay, so that will do. So there's my 3 signatures, and then just open these up. So I've got 4 of those. So basically just open up your pages and get them in the order that you want them in. And if I've got, this image is mostly blue, so I'm putting blue paper there. The pink looks nice against that. So just do that with each of your signatures. I might go back where I just had one page. I'll put another tea stained one in there. So I've got colour, 2 pages, colour, 2 pages, colour, 2 pages, colour, and a page. So that's my signature, so I'll do that with the others quickly. So there's the 3 signatures ready to go. Now with my card, remember these were the backings of the 6x6 paper pads. All I did was I measured these signatures and I allowed an extra 1/8 of an inch in the width and the height to make the covers. So I've cut them, I just cut them with a blade and a ruler, and so that will be my front and back covers. I've put double-sided tape on the outsides of them, so that will be my front and back covers. And you can see that it just leaves a tiny bit of room, not barely even an 1/8 of an inch, and just a tiny bit top and bottom so that the cover's slightly bigger. And then to measure the height for the spine, I really just sort of let it sit rather loosely and measured it at about 1 1/4 inches, because I don't want it to be a gator mouth. So I've got my front cover and back cover and my spine at 1 1/4 inches. So that's all ready to go. And then these were going to be my front and back covers, so I think I'll have this as the front cover. So all I need to do really is I'm going to wrap this with this cover, so I'm just sort of fitting it. I really like that image, so I'm sort of going to sit that there and just cut a portion off. I'm just trying to leave around about an inch all the way around the cover, just so I can wrap it. And I'm just keeping this straight as I can. So I'm just going to cut that down. And I'm going to do this journal, make it in such a way that the spine is not going to crack when you fold it. So I'll just peel off this double-sided tape. And then turn that paper over and just place this roughly in the center. And just give that a good push down. Then I want to trim the corners off, so I'm just going to trim them off so that I've got the width of this scissor between the corner and where I cut, just to give me, so if I butt my scissors up against that, it's going to cut right on it. So I'm just wanting to leave a little bit. So I've just left that little amount for the moment, and this will just get rid of the excess. And then just roll the edges to start bending the paper. And then I'm going to just fold everything into place. And then once you've got your paper folded, you can see that little excess bit. If I fold that over, it's going to leave an untidy little bit. So I basically just fold it over and just snip that off, putting the scissors up against the side, and just snip that extra little bit off so that that's a nice neat corner. So I'm just going to do that everywhere and turn it over if it works better on this one, if I turn it over, and just cutting that little excess bit off. And then I'm going to use a wet glue and just glue these down. So I like to get glue right in that seam and then just over the covers, top and bottom, and again roll it on so that that gets nicely glued down, and then just using a bit of tension, just really push that on nice and tightly. So do opposite ends first. And I can just see that little bit needs to come off as well there. And any little tiny extra bits, just do a final trim, and you should get really neat corners that are completely covered in the paper. So do that for the front and the back. So there's my front cover and my back cover. Now with the spine, that piece is not going to be wide enough. So I'm just going to cut a little piece off this piece. I'm just going to see what's going to work. Probably this end would work. So I just want to cut myself a piece. I'm going to leave about an inch either side of the spine. So about there will do. You want to leave yourself a little bit of room because the spine gets done a little differently to reduce the chance of things cracking. So peel this off. And I'm just going to plonk it in the middle. Now with the spine, I'm only going to fold over and glue the top and the bottom. So I'm just trimming a little bit off. So with this one, I'm just going to trim at the same angle as the, at the same level as the top, and just trim up a little bit. And do that on both sides. And then I'm going to glue the top and the bottom down the way we did before. And then where this little piece is longer, again, run the scissors up against the top and just trim that level, just to make sure there's nothing extra that's going to stick out. Alright, so, and then I'm just going to start shaping the paper. So that's going to be my back cover, my front cover. Which way do I want it? I like that. Alright, so now it's a good idea if you've got a scoreboard. So this scoreboard's going to just help me keep everything lined up. That's my front cover, my back cover, and here's my spine. So what I want to do now is I just want to use a bone folder, and I want to crease this paper up against the side of the cardboard there, so that I make like a little ledge. And then what's going to happen is I'm going to glue the front and the back cover, and keeping everything butted up against the bottom of my board, glue everything into position there, and that will keep everything nice and straight. You can just use wet glue or glue tape. So where's my thick glue tape? I think it's going to be a bit too thick. Just so you don't want the tape to go right up to the ledge, just want to give a little bit of a space, maybe 1/8 of an inch away. Bandage that on. So hopefully you can see that I've just left a little bit of a space there. Then I'm going to peel the double-sided tape off, and I'm going to use some wet glue as well as the double-sided tape. I don't want to get glue. I'm just going to keep the glue just a little bit below the double-sided tape, because I definitely don't want glue to seep into that opening. And then butting this up against the board, I'm going to sit this so that it knocks right against that ledge and push that down, so I'm keeping everything nice and square on. Okay, so that's the back and the spine, and then this is the front cover, and do exactly the same. Butting this up against the board again, this is going to hit right against that ledge. And so I know everything is nice and square. so that's the cover made, and you can see now that when I bend it, you've just got a nicely, it's all covered and paper covered, but it's never going to crack. And it's just a really nice way to make sure your journal lasts for a long time. So now I have got this piece which I'm going to cut to fit inside the front and the back cover, and then I need the centerpiece, which will happen first. So this is now where my signatures are going to get sewn onto. So my signatures are going to sit in the journal like that. So I need to cut a piece of paper that's going to basically cover where you can see from the white tape the spine piece and that. So I want that to be about 3.5 inches, and I want this to be the height. So this is going to, piece is going to sit in there, so I want it to be the height that's going to fit this journal, and in my case that's going to be 5 3/4. So that piece is going to sit in there. So I'm wanting it to fit in, so I'm just basically using the fold of the book to help me fold that, so it's going to sit in there nicely. And do the same on this side. Don't have to be too exact at this moment. So that piece will be glued down, but before we do glue that down, we're going to stitch the signatures onto that piece of paper. So I'll stitch the 3 signatures onto there and then glue that onto there. And so to do that, we need to work out a bit of a quick template is probably the easiest way. So just with a piece of scrap paper, I want this to be the height of this piece exactly. And I'm just going to basically mimic the folds as well. And that will help me to basically just work out where the holes are going to go. So this piece in the center it's 3 centimeters, or 1 1/4 inches. So I want to divide it by 3. So if that's 8, so that's 10/8. So if we go 1 2 3, I come in 2/8 and 2/8, and then between them is 3/4. So I want, which is 6/8. So I want 1 2 3/8, about there. So basically on my piece of paper, I'm just going to rule some lines in just to help me to sort of figure out where I'm going to stitch the signatures. And these don't have to be exact, but it's nice to have some sort of guidance. And then I'm just going to fold it in half to give me a halfway mark. So that's my halfway point there. And then I'm just going to use the board and make it about 1 inch from the top. And rule a line across, and 1 inch from the bottom. And so these crossover points are where I'm going to poke my holes. So now I can figure out what's the top and what the bottom is, and you won't see a lot of this. So I'm just going to sit this template inside the other one and just pop a couple of paper clips on it just to keep it nice and straight. And then with my pokey tool, I'm just going to go and put a hole into each of those crossing points. So that's all got the holes in it. And then I know now that that's where they're going to sit. And then I'm just basically going to fold this and sit it inside. So basically get my signatures all square. Make sure I've got everything up the right way. So just check that you haven't got anything upside down. So just the coloured papers in my case really. Okay, so I'm just taking one signature. I've got my template here and you can see it's just a tiny bit above and a little bit below. So just square everything off. If you have clips, paper clips or bulldog clips, this is a really good time to find the middle of your signature and then just really push, keeping everything square, really just push that center point in so that everything is really tight and snug, and then making sure it's all square, just clip this signature. And I do that top and bottom again, just using my fingernails just to push everything in. And then I'm just sitting my template in so that I've got an even amount top and bottom. So if I move my clip over, I can just see that I've got that centered, and then open it up and poke my holes on those same marks that I made. Okay, and then with this piece of paper now, I'm just going to grab a little bit of waxed thread, and I need about 2.5 times the height. So 1, 2.5, about there. And then just make sure you've got this the right way up, and this the right way up, which was that way. Just double check on another piece. Yeah. So I'm going to start in the middle and go through the middle. Your choices here, if you start in the middle, you're going to have thread, loose thread in the middle of the journal. If you don't want that, then start on the outside. But I like to see the loose thread, particularly because it's shabby raggedy. And then I've got my holes punched, so I'm going to do my signatures in this order. So signature 1, 2 and 3. So this is going to go into that first set of holes. So I'm just finding that hole and popping it through. And then I just hang on to that last little bit of thread while I'm holding the journal, flip it over and go to one of the other holes, and then back through that hole that you've made, and make sure that's sitting nicely, and go down through to the bottom hole, and then I'm just going to bring more thread up. Now I'm pulling this thread down in my case, and then going back through this same hole, and I want to try and make sure I don't go split the thread, so that's why I'm pulling it down, to give myself a little bit more room. Okay, take the needle out, and then I'm just going to pull everything till it's nice and snug, and then I want one thread on either side of that center thread. Let's snug again, make sure there's nothing loose, and then just tie your knot. So right over left, and then the left over right, and take your clips away. And so that's signature 1 stitched in. So I'll do the same for the other 2 signatures. So here are my 3 signatures sewn on to that piece of paper. You can see there's the back, there's my 3 different signatures stitched on. And now I'm ready to place this into the cover. So that's going to glue into there, and then we'll be finished. So all I'm doing for that now is I'm going to flick this over, and I'm going to put double-sided tape onto the back of it. And this is a nice wide one, and it's also a heavy duty one. So there's the back covered in that double-sided tape, and where it overlaps a little bit, I'm just going to peel up the other layer and just let that overlap. And so that's ready to stick in the journal. Just want to make sure it's up the right way. So it is. So now that's ready to glue in, and to make sure it's going to be straight, we cut this piece to the exact height of that. So I'm just going to peel a little corner back on the top and the bottom on this side. And that will just give me a chance to position it so that if needs be, I can move it. And that's my, just going to reinforce now that the tape's on that fold line, that's going to sit into position. So I'm just using my thumbnails just to position that in, and I'm just making sure I've got the height right for the top and the bottom, and when I'm sure that's right, I'm just going to push that corner down to grab it, and this one as well. And then I know when I flick that over and grab the rest of that tape, I can start to peel that back. know that that's nice and straight. And then just get that first part of it off, and again I'm just making sure it's all sitting perfectly. And then peel your other piece off. If this wasn't the heavy duty tape, I'd probably put the art glitter glue on top just to make certain that it's all reinforced. And then I'm just trying to roll this on just little bit by little bit and make sure everything's nice and straight. And I'm just going to trim a little piece there that the tapes come up above the paper. Just before I stick that down. Push that crease in. Give it a good burnish. And then flip each of the signatures over and just push it all down in the middle as well. And a tiny little bit of glue there. And there's our finished journal. So everything's stitched in nicely, and all we need to do now is cover these in the inside and outside covers. And so to do that, I'm just going to measure. The front cover was 4 1/8, so I'm going to cut a strip of paper. So this is my piece that I've got left. I'm just going to cut 2 pieces that are 1/8 of an inch narrower. So I want to cut 4 inches twice just to get that inside cover. So I'm going to have that part and then this back part. So they're both at 4, and then my height is going to be 1/8 of an inch less as well. This is 5 3/4 or 5 6/8, so I want 5 5/8 for both of these pieces. So 5 5/8. And 5 5/8. If you want to, now is the time to ink. So that's going to fit in there, and that's going to fit in there. I'm just going to put this on with art glitter glue, and I'm not inking mine. So just trying to get the glue right up to the edge to make sure that it stays down. And then I'm just going to sit it, catch one corner and the other, and make sure I'm happy that everything's straight. And glue that down. And the same with the back piece. Just grab that top corner. And there's my finished little journal ready to decorate it. I can add to it whatever I like. It opens and closes, sits beautifully. It's just a nice width. I don't necessarily need a closure at this point, and you can see that the spine opens and closes nicely, but it's never going to crack, and that the journal will sit nice and flat on the desk, and the pages are nice and easy to write on. So that's my little shabby mini journal. I hope you grab some papers and make one as well, and I'd love to hear how you went with it. Thank you so much for watching.